Good evening, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to A Cup of Friendship. I'm Tanya.
Secret.
This is,
Kara.
and
Rashida.
we are excited to come to you
Woo-hoo.
tonight. If you are a parent, you are a grandparent, aunts and uncles, cousins with children, I would say between the ages of 5 to 17. This tonight's broadcast is something that you really want to receive some information from. I was recently riding home one night and I heard an advertisement of a lawyer's office that was discussing and bringing to my attention that there are families actually suing social media because of the way that it is affecting the young people or their children's mental health. Immediately I thought about my granddaughter. If you're listening, think about somebody in your family that spends a lot of time on social media, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
Snapchat.
Snapchat. It's all out there. What I found so amazing is that these entities have been designed to draw in our kids' minds. And once it captures their mind, then it captures their actions. So, with that being said, we're going to open up the floor for discussion. CBS News recently put out an article that was letting us know that as of right now, there's more than 1,200 families suing social media companies over their kids' mental health. Uh, Floor is open for discussion. If you have questions, please put them into the chat, because I do believe that this is going to be an ongoing discussion so that we can become educated, that we don't lose our kids in this process. What do you all think?
Kara, what was the number of adolescents?
Oh, it was like 21 million.
21
million.
million.
In this article, when I was reading it, like 21 million adolescents that they're actually tracking in reference
Wow.
to how social media affects the mental health of those adolescents that are on it. And so when you think about it, so we know that typically, like with Facebook, well, all of them, I guess, you have to
Mhm.
be a certain age to actually get access, get your profile and everything set up.
Right.
But the thing about it is that came to my mind, number one, we know that when we see numbers like that, they can only go by what's like written, so to
Right,
speak, the
exactly.
statistics of it. So it's not like they're going to each house saying, okay, how old are you? How old are you? How old are
Right.
you? So that's the statistical data that they're utilizing. However, my question that came to mind was, okay, but out of that, how many are actually really supposed to be under the regulations of it,
True.
are supposed to be on social media, that are at the right age to be on social media? And you know how we were as children, we find a way to get around just about anything our parents say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the same with social media. It's like, okay, so I only need to be 12. Are you 12 or 13, whatever the age is? Are you that age? The person just said yes. Right? So then they
Yes.
go in and they create the profiles.
Right.
And so there they are in the system of social media that's now about to start attracting them to, and you mentioned earlier, Tanya, about like the algorithm. So that it tracks what you're interested in.
Right.
Mhm.
And then the more you look at those things that you're interested in, then the algorithm speaks to that, and then it pulls even more content that
Yes.
draws into what you were just looking at. So it just keeps you engulfed in all of those things. And then not to mention the fact of, as you know how we see it, you see the one video and then the another video automatically comes
Right.
up,
Yes.
and
Right.
it's not always based on what you were looking at. It could be
Right.
something
Right.
totally
Exactly.
different.
Different.
Yes.
And then now that, because you're already engulfed, so your attention is already on what's coming up. So they slide in
Right.
that one scene or one video of something totally opposite. So now you're being drawn into that. So it just keeps you just kind of going in that whole hole, I guess you could say,
Exactly.
of social media and being drawn in. And when we look at it from our kids' standpoint, that many of them, their minds haven't even developed to even make the distinctions between, okay, this is just really entertainment.
Right.
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 So in their minds, it's like, okay, oh, this, and if it's intriguing,
It makes them go back.
exactly, or they'll just
They're
zoned into it.
Exactly.
For
And so
hours.
all of that is playing in their mind. It's shaping their mind. It's shaping their idea of reality and all of those things. And then the parents are seeing it in reality, in real time.
Right.
They're looking at it, soaked up by it. Then when it's time to like shut down, so to speak, then they're seeing it portrayed. So my concern or my question is, like, while you may not necessarily be able to 100% of the time gauge, okay, you don't need little Johnny, now don't you go on social
Right.
media.
Yeah.
Excuse me if somebody's son's name out there is Johnny. It's just an
Right.
example. But you know, little Johnny, you don't need to do this because you are only 8 years old, right?
Right.
But they can't control little Johnny go and lie and say, okay, yeah, but I am the age to social media, and they gets engrafted. But my question is also, I guess, is like, so once you find this out, then what happens at that point? Because, you know, as the parent, it's not to shift blame because social media, from what you were saying, they know, right? They know the capacity that it can actually draw the minds in.
Yes.
And that's their intention.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
their
I mean,
intention.
that's when they
Exactly.
get paid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Being a pre-K teacher, Tanya said 5. We can go further down than that.
Wow.
I have a 3-year-old grandson that could work a tablet and
True.
an
They,
iPhone.
they coming out the womb.
Yeah,
able to
so
Exactly.
do this.
so you can actually say and but you can actually say, do they have a profile? No, but when they get your phone
Yes.
or they get your tablet or iPad, they're going straight. So, like Kara was saying, not necessarily putting the blame on the parent, but what are you letting entertain your child?
That's a good question. Also, just so that we're clear, this article is basically making mention of the impact causing eating disorders, suicide,
Bullying.
low bullying, yes, social media bullying, very low self-esteem because first of all, let's go back to what you just said about your grandson. And it amazed me. There's this little kid that's on social media. I cannot think of his name right now, but kids zone in. They watch him
Play with
and
his
all
toys.
of his toys, play with all of his toys. And they got a whole section in Walmart that is dedicated to this child and
Wow.
all of the characters and everything
Became a
that he's
billionaire.
created.
Right.
Yes, he's a billionaire behind this. So our kids are very creative. They're very smart. And when they're watching that stuff, if we're not careful in their mindset, they may feel like a failure
Exactly.
because they don't achieve that.
Gotcha.
So at that age, it starts there. And then when you look at now there's teens, early teens, then there's teenagers, and then there's what we consider the young adults, especially when you're talking about around graduation time.
Yes.
Social media makes every world look perfect.
And
Even
it's
in the
not.
imperfect worlds that they present.
Right.
Right.
There's a form of perfection to it that even I have to be careful as an adult to make sure that that I'm not trying to emulate that.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So to go along with the questions that you all ask, and for those of you all are watching, one of the questions that I want to put on the table is, when was the last time you checked your child's phone, their tablet, and really monitored what they actually have going on as a form of what you said, their entertainment? And for those of us that have allowed that to, at some point or another, become a babysitting mechanism.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
To our
I
children.
mean, everyone's done it. I don't know a parent that hasn't said, "Get this phone, sit down." You know,
Get
because
this
you're in the
iPad.
Or get this,
get this tablet,
Mhm.
and it's even to the point where me and my brother was having a discussion of what's the age a child should even have a cell phone.
True.
You're talking about 4 or 5-year-olds walking around with their own cellular device.
Right.
And when he was talking about getting his little one, he was like, I just don't do it. I don't think she should have one till she's like 11 or 12 years old. It's a lot of responsibility when you give this to a child.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think the reason she got hers so early was because she ended up being on the wrong side of the school to get on the bus and stayed over there for hours by herself. and she did not know what to do to get back to the position of where she came from. So he was like, what do I do? Okay, she needs it because she could have called somebody and she wouldn't have to sit there that long and be scared and out of her wits.
And
or
these days you can't ask nobody, can you use the phone? Because you don't know if that's a pedophile you're talking to.
yeah, so you know,
Yes.
it's like, which way do you go? Which way do you go? And I was just talking when I was talking to Kara earlier about the article, and she was reading some of the numbers. You even have a site that actually helps you commit. You
That's
can get
scary.
on. They coach you. They tell you how to do it because you're comfortable and you want them to be okay with what
That's
their
the devil.
decision was. You know, and that's a reality. And me and my oldest son was watching court TV, and that's how I found out about it. That
That's
a family actually wanted a girl to be held accountable for their child committing suicide, and she got charged with manslaughter because she coached him on how
I
to
think I
kill
remember
himself.
hearing
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I did.
So
see that.
it's a lot out there that intertwines into them networks that we, you know, because I don't have any young kids besides my grandkids, and they don't stay with me but 2 or 3 days out the week. So, you know, in actuality, they're with their parent more than they are with me.
Right.
But when my kids was younger, we didn't have all that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, it's totally
the-
different.
Yeah,
No,
that's totally
yeah.
different.
The
You
TV
was looking to
you
get a
know,
beat.
you know, so
Let alone.
Listen,
when
we
I-
got a coloring book and
Yeah.
sit down and draw in this book. Right
So
here.
now, you
Listen.
know, when I hear about the stories of my people I know that's got younger kids and my coworkers and stuff like that, I'm sitting here like they was looking at it just what?
And see,
And
and
I
but it's like
mean,
you
you
said,
know.
the problem is the age that's being influenced by the negativity that's on and all the social media.
Right.
And it don't take but one time to see the wrong thing, and you can be hooked.
That's true. Depending on
And
what it is.
everything that's good is going to always have a negative connotation to it. And it just really does boil back down to you have to pay attention, because get the phone, like you said, just keeps him quiet, you know, out of my hair, doing that. But you have no idea
What
what's
they're
being
looking at.
exposed to your son or to your daughter. So it's not like just leave the Johnny by himself, but we have to educate ourselves to the fact that it's a really dark world out there, and they don't care about the age. So, and because you can log on and lie that you 18 and you really 12 or 6, you're going to be exposed to that. And that's how they develop back to the mental health part, because it start messing with their psychic, because they don't know how to
embrace
to tell the
everything that's
difference
come to 'em.
between, and they really start, in spite of the real tangible people they have in their life that's coaching them and raising them, they really start thinking, this is who I'm supposed to be, and you haven't even learned who you are.
Yes.
But the media
Yes.
is telling you who you are. There was another article pertaining to that as well that I was just floored at. Actually, it was a documentary, and they had a group of kids, and they was like, how they would feel when they would get likes. They were on a high.
Yes.
And then when they took a picture and didn't
That's
get the
another-
likes,
yes.
they literally
When they're
would be like
depression.
distraught.
Oh, wow.
And I'm
Yes.
like, this is crazy. But when you talk to them, I mean, they really don't get it. I mean, you have to keep educating, but they don't get it when I'm trying to explain to them, why do you need a person who does not know you to like you?
And it's the glamour
We-
in it.
it's
They
the-
make
yeah,
it look
it's the-
so
they make it-
glamorous.
yes.
Like,
And they make it look so
yeah, and half the
easy.
stuff they
Yeah.
be renting anyway. But
And
For
they
real.
even
But I'm
theirs.
just saying,
Yeah.
like, they make it look so glamorous. You know, they have the clothes and the hair is done.
Perfect skin.
And everything is just perfect. They have
Photo op.
the right photo. And then they have, you know, like the cars, so to speak, depending on the age range. But they have the cars, so they got the money at the kids. And especially when you're talking about a child who maybe they come from a family that's not even, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's
Experience
struggling a
that,
little bit
right.
And
financially.
not doing all that.
And so
yeah.
they look for that outside, like, there's got to be another way, so to speak. That may not be what they are saying, but there's got to be something different than what I'm
Yeah.
seeing here.
Yeah.
And so then they see it through social media, and then they're drawn into it, right? Because it's always colorful, and they always look like they're happy and
Yes.
excited, and like, this is just the best life. And then,
they start hating their own life.
Right.
they start hating their
Yes.
own life. Yes. And then
Or they want that mama, or they want
Exactly.
that daddy.
Right.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
And I was telling Kara when we were talking about this article earlier, I said, and the difference from now And when we were growing up, or when we raised our kids, was we made them understand the difference between reality and fiction. We saw the Road Runner, and we saw him get hit with this thing in the top of his head, and he kept right on going. Now you would hear your grandmother or your mother say, "Don't you hit your brother with nothing like that, because that's gonna hurt him. You can't do that. That's not real."
Right.
I don't even think, and I say this to my kids now. You listening to the music, and you want the lifestyle of that person that they're rapping about. And I think it was an article. I can't remember who the rapper was, but he was rapping about being a gangster and having the money and the cars and the women. And he's actually married. Children go to a private school, and they do not listen to rap music.
About.
Yeah.
You're giving it to someone else's children, but you don't want your child to have it.
Right.
So you
Which
see what
is
I'm saying?
another whole
And
discussion that
that's-
needs to be brought
that's
up
another one.
because
yeah,
Right.
but I'm just saying the social media aspect,
hype it
will-
all up.
it will make you think I can have it. When he over here and got his children in a private school, and they don't even know anything about this side.
And then his lyrics encourage you not to go to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with everything that we brought to the table,
Right.
let's each of us be able to think of some advice that we can give to those that are watching, because this is a conversation we know we're going to be coming back to, because
Right.
none of those platforms are going anywhere. I don't care how many times they get sued.
And they getting
No.
bigger
They're
and bigger.
not. They're not
They're
going
gonna find different ways to
to
try
go
to
around
avoid.
that. Yes.
So,
Mhm.
and I'll start. What I would encourage you that are watching, and regardless to the age of the child, whether it's from the age of 2 all the way up until the age of 18, what I would encourage you to do is find alternative ways of entertainment. We have said it for the longest, but families need to come back together and create
Exactly.
ways that we could spend time with each other
So true.
that doesn't involve a phone, a TV, a iPad, or any type of electronic. And some of it is free. Take out time to spend time with your family so that you can even learn about the person you living with, because that's another problem.
Right.
A lot of people don't know their
That's
children
true.
because they ain't spending time with them.
Exactly.
So that's going to be my first suggestion, is to find alternative ways to be and spend time with their children in other forms of entertainment that don't involve electronics.
That was
Very
good.
We really
That's
ain't gotta
very
say
good. For real.
Oh, that made me
I,
feel so good.
but just to add to what she's saying, and don't penalize the child by saying, if you don't do this, you're not going to get your tablet. If you don't do this, you're not going to get your phone. No, it should be another means of discipline without, because when you tell them that, that's a straight down. I can get a child out of the car, get a child coming in the classroom, and the parent and say, if he act up today, tell him he ain't gonna get his tablet when he get home. Oh,
But at that point, that's probably the only tool she got to cause him to behave, which creates another problem.
Right.
learn
That
your
the
child.
only way you can
Mhm.
get them to behave is you got to threaten them with something tangible,
So Tanya really
something
said it
you
all.
want to have.
She really did. She bundled it up in one, but don't let it be too late.
Right.
Learning who
Yeah,
who's in
definitely.
your
Yeah.
house.
And taking away the devices, come together and talk. That's gonna open up more conversation. You'd be surprised where you can learn.
Yeah.
And it's very sad if you in the same house and you don't know each other because of everybody in their separate places on their devices.
That's true.
And we all
Yeah.
been,
That's
All
true.
guilty
of
that.
Yes,
And before
yes.
you know it, it's like 3 months and 2 months, and
Like,
y'all
who
ain't
is
done
you?
nothing.
What's
You
your
don't go
name
to the
again?
movie.
When you
How
get
long
that-
you been living here?
When you get that ring in your nose,
How
I mean,
you
you
right.
don't understand.
And
got
you
a
got your
tattoo?
belly pierced when?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
And you be talking, why I didn't know? Because ain't nobody talking.
yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Straight communication, sitting around talking is always going to be the number one way to have any relationship. Also, what a relationship
That's
is.
true. And my thing is
Just
too, I
talking.
would say research, like we're
That part
seeing,
too.
like
Yeah.
research and just see what is actually being said about the things that your children are invested in, especially like social media. look at not just the good, like it does have good. We all use it,
Right,
so
right.
we
It does
use it
have
from a
good
positive
points.
standpoint. So it's definitely that option. But based on what we're talking about today, definitely, research to find out what are they saying about, TikTok, or what are they saying about Snapchat, or whatever the case may be. And if you read about it and research it more, and you may begin to think back and can recall certain behaviors you may have seen
Right.
coming
That was
out,
influence.
because sometimes you don't pay attention, you don't think
Right.
about behavior,
Right.
you just know that that's what they do,
Right.
right? But I would say make sure you stay on top of those things too, and research, not to necessarily make a specific decision, but to be in the know. So if it comes to a point
Absolutely.
where you
Yeah.
got to make a decision, you are well rounded in the
Yes.
understanding of why you're making the decision and what you're trying to gain from making that decision as it relates to the growth and development of your children.
Very
That's
good.
right.
And
That's
as
real
parents,
good.
that's
That's
part
real
of the
good.
job
Right.
because
Yeah.
anything that keeps the attention of a child that long,
Yeah.
Can't
it
be
ought to be a
good.
ding ding. You need to find out what is it
Yes.
that has them so engrossed. And
But to
unfortunately, they
add-
see stuff that they didn't start out wanting to see.
Right.
But because of the industry, they're gonna put stuff in front of them that's definitely not appropriate.
And explain it. I was dealing with children that they understand more than you give them credit.
That's true.
And it's okay to say
Especially
to them,
nowadays.
I don't want you to watch this because it's bad.
That's-
That
It's
is
okay
the
to
truth.
say
Yeah.
to them,
Be honest
this
and
is not
transparent.
good for you. And don't sugarcoat it. Really let them understand that it's not good for them.
Right.
And when you explain things to children, you get a better reaction because now they understand why I don't, little Johnny, don't need to get on this channel
Right, because
anymore
they're-
because of
Exactly.
what it's going to do to
Where
me.
it can lead
Right.
to
Right.
because they don't have the ability at that age to foresee
Yeah.
how this is going to affect me down the
And
line.
listen to them. Listen.
Yeah,
That's
a
very
key.
important.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen. It may not make sense to you. And if they are asking questions, please don't shut them down.
Please don't.
Right.
Let them ask.
I was just about to
Yeah.
say accusations will shut off a conversation. When you start accusing somebody
Absolutely.
but if you start asking questions, especially want to make sure, please make sure you are monitoring those kids. That is so very important. And
Yes.
I've even discovered, just for those of you that don't know, Facebook actually has it to where it will shut off at a certain time. You can set a timer.
Yes.
And mine stays off all night because I noticed that I was waking up in the middle of the night. First thing I do, hit Facebook. Bible sitting right there by my forehead, but there go Facebook. So I put that timer on it. And now, Lord, thank God for deliverance. But now, even if I'm watching it, it'll say you've been on Facebook longer than an hour. And
Yeah.
a thing,
But
and it'll
that's
tell me to
even-
log off.
That's phones and iPads. Like my brother's children, their mom, okay, you want your 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the afternoon, or you want your hour at one time. And once that's up, you cannot get on it.
Yeah, that's
you cannot
good.
get on
That's
it.
really
it's,
good.
It's I don't care how she tried.
But I like how she asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
How
I
do
like
you
how
want
she
your
asked.
child?
Yes.
Instead of just
Which
always
teaches them how to make
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah. So one of them, the youngest one, he always, I want mine all at one time. And then the oldest one is
He
always
look
like,
like
you
it
know, pinpoint me a couple here, a couple here. You know, she want to do 10 over here,
Like, check
15
in.
here,
Right.
20
She's
here.
smart, though.
And she always want that 10 before she go to bed so she can make sure she check up on everything before it shuts
That's
her
smart.
down.
That's a smart
Yeah.
move.
So, but yeah, so I mean, and honesty, guys, honesty is the best key with your kids because you'll be surprised what they know. And be careful what you say, do in front of your children.
And some of that
Yeah.
you being surprised at what they know is because what they have seen that you have
Right.
not, and the conversations around their friends who may not have any guidelines, and they open to everything, and they definitely.
They do.
Yes, and they
Yes.
So don't
Lord.
be mad at the child. How you know that? Well,
Probably
check
be
her
like,
friend
Lord, what
list.
did happen, Jesus?
Check her friend list.
social media is
So with that, we definitely want to hear from you because
Yes.
with this conversation, as it was stated, we could definitely talk about it more. Wish we had more time even now. However, we are going to revisit this because we actually
Yes.
want to hear what your thoughts are. So if you would, put something in the chat, just say, hey, I will go check it out. I will go do my research, so that when we come back and we ask, that you're able to respond to see. We just want to hear from you. Like,
Right.
there's
Yes.
only 4 of us here.
Right.
But there's a number of you all listening, and we want to hear from you what some ideas that you've came up with, or what did you see that maybe we didn't discuss tonight, that we would be able to discuss later. But we got to hear from you. So
Yes.
that
Right.
means
Yes, very
that
important.
after today, that means you can't shut off and then never come back to a cup of friendship. I'm just saying. Now, so that means that you have a homework assignment just like we
Yes.
do.
Yes.
But we want to hear from you, and we want you to go research about this article. It was on CBS News, and I'm pretty sure it's probably in other places as
Yes.
well. But go research it and let us know what you think, because we want to hear exactly. We don't want to assume that we know what you're thinking. We want to know from you what you're thinking. And
Yes.
even if it's a question that you have that maybe we can address, we would definitely love to know that, so that we can make sure we be helpers one to another. Okay?
Yep.
So
Very
until
good.
next time, a cup of
Until next
friendship
time.
signing off. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.